Enza and Naki both went to the same school, attended the same college, and was once used to be employed by the same person. They both grew to love one another under one reason. They both shared the same environment throughout their growth. Environment is what brought them together. What about personality, personal experience, knowledge gathered from that setting, and emotional and mental state each individual had at the moment? They definitely know each other due to exposure of the same environment and have similar memories. But how is each individual personally learning, absorbing, and reacting from what they are both experiencing? How each individual perceive as their reality? They have different realities from the same number of encounter and shared events. Once they moved in together after a year, they were with one another since they are both familiar with the same things. But the truth is, their realities were not the same. They would often argue over each individual financial decision, attitude, behavior, and reactions. How is this becoming a problem if they grew to know each other very well? Enza would complain on how Naki didn't respect him as a man. Naki would also be concerned on how Enza doesn't act like a man. This is because their reality of how a man should be is different from one another. It is based on their personal experience, influences, and background, regardless of knowing each other's personality and coming from the same environment. Naki was raised by a single father. She does not know how a woman is supposed to act towards a man. All she knows is a man is always smiling through pain and must be reliable and responsible at all times, both financially and emotionally. Such is her reality. The definition of how a man is comes from her father. This definition of her man is a complete illusion to Enza since he was raised by a single mother. Enza knows a woman is supposed to be soft and support his dreams. Such is Enza's reality. This definition of woman is a complete illusion to Naki. That is because Naki's personal experience isn't Enza's reality, and vice versa. Naki does not know a soft and gentle approach of a woman, and Enza does not know the rigid presence of a man. Whenever they are on dates, Enza would act to impress, bring warmth, and believes in supporting Naki. Enza's another reality as a young man in college was female rejection, getting left hanging by girls he liked. Self-improvement to climb the social chain. Naki would be surprised by such stories from Enza. In college, they would attend the same classes, complete assignments together, and everything seemed fine. But Enza's reality was getting to improve himself and also go to an art studio due to studying the course he never liked. Naki also seemed happy getting good grades, but that was because of her father's influence. She had dreamed of being a professional athlete and was interested in business. She would often get men getting her on dates, but her reality is none of the man she got was supporting her professional career, meeting her fantasy standards, and some left her with emotional trauma through abuse. They both hid each other's realities because one could not relate nor even understand. It'll be a complete illusion. But now they are a couple. The only thing they can do is understand each other. However, no matter how much they try to understand each other, one's reality is another's illusion. As if they're on the same earth, but in complete different worlds of their own, that only they can truly understand themselves. Both had shared memories they could talk about every day. What about their deepest realities that really rule their souls? That is inevitable. When they grew to finally be aware of each other's realities, they thought it would be easier to finally understand each other and live happily. But the truth is, as long as you have not gone through it, you can never fully understand. It will still be a complete illusion, a complete lie to your soul. Enza has always known Naki graduated from her chemistry studies and went ahead to work at a cosmetic store. Every night, he always asks about how her day was like at work. She would furiously dismiss him, completely not showing interest. This is because her reality was either playing sports or owning a business. This was completely new to Enza, as if he did not know anything about her career. What she showed to Enza was a complete illusion, trying to hide her reality. However, that version of herself, always happy going to work, is what Enza perceives as his reality version of Naki. She also seemed strong and organized, But her abuse trauma from her past relationship kept her crying every now and then when she breaks down whenever she is having an argument with Enza. Enza started to realize what she revealed herself to be in his eyes was a complete illusion, a complete lie. He started to understand her reality, and because of his upbringing, he was willing to support her reality. Naki realized his level of understanding as time went by. She felt understood, accepted, and someone can see her mind, ideas, and imaginations. Naki also started to want to understand his reality. She knew he always wanted to improve his grades back in high school, and he started working for Mr. Van in a pharmacy. She would always cheer him up and understand him. However, she was shocked after Enza started to pick up a habit of smoking. The truth is Naki also understood the reality he chose to show her. His artistic dreams were not being met. His work looked perfect on the outside, but he was draining on the inside. His reality was still an illusion to him, and Naki would often judge him for smoking. His job and college life were just illusions to cover what he really wanted, to be in the studio, create art. He was never happy. By the time Naki started to understand him, she had begun her cosmetic business and creating fortunes. They would go to studio together as Naki started to get a sense of his reality. They both grew to understand each other, until one day they broke into an argument. Naki felt Enza was not as serious with his art and job. He lacks financial discipline, rigidness, and is too soft to wrong his peers in the studio, and he is not man enough to be aggressive with his goals. This is her ideals that she kept from her father's upbringing. It is still part of her reality. Her relationship trauma made her to feel unsafe around emotional and soft men. Enza would often dismiss her for her action of turning emotional when things go right, and she becomes manly when her things are working out fine. He still has his softness from his mother's, and trauma he faced at college for not feeling worthy when he kept on failing his subjects. They understand each other, but they will never relate to each other fully. Their souls are already dwelled in their deepest reality that only oneself can understand and cannot escape. One's true reality is still another's illusion. Thank you. Subscribe.